You've been feeling drained, like your energy is being sucked away by everything and everyone around you, haven't you? You're not imagining things. This really happens when we lose connection with our inner center. Buddha taught that solitude isn't escaping the world, but rather the path back to who we truly are. When you master the art of using alone time to completely reset your spirit, you become like a spring that never runs dry, always renewing your own energy from within. That's why great spiritual masters always sought silence. They knew that in stillness lies the greatest power of transformation. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your like and comment from which part of the world you're watching, because now I'm going to tell you everything. What if your time alone could actually make you kinder and clearer instead of just more distant? That simple question is a good doorway into the first step of a Buddhist approach to solitude. Getting honest about why you're withdrawing and shaping that choice with right view and right intention. In this tradition, solitude is not an escape hatch. It is a field of practice you enter on purpose, the way someone steps into a garden to weed and water what matters. So before you close the door or turn off your phone, take a moment to say what you are doing here. You are not hiding from life. You are stepping back to see life more plainly, so you can return more awake. Right view, in plain language, means remembering the point of the path. The Buddha framed it simply: understand suffering, understand how it arises, and learn how it ends. Suffering here does not only mean big tragedy, it also means that tightness in the chest when you get hooked by worry, the restless reaching for one more distraction, the way irritation lingers long after a conversation ends. Right view says your time alone is for meeting all of that as it is and discovering how to release the extra pressure you add with clinging and aversion. It is not for building a private island of comfort, polishing your image as a spiritual person, or engineering a perfect mood. If you start to drift into turning your retreat into a self-improvement project, right view nudges you back. The work is humbler and more reliable. Learn what burns and how to stop feeding the fire. Right intention is the partner to that view. In this tradition, it points your effort in 3 friendly directions that keep solitude from hardening into self-absorption. The first is renunciation, a word that can sound heavy but is actually practical. It means you stop chasing every craving for a little while and see what happens. You let go of extra stimulation not because pleasure is bad, but because your nervous system can settle when it is not being constantly fed. Renunciation in solitude looks like putting aside the compulsion to check messages, skipping the loop of snacks and scrolling, and letting yourself be with what is here. The second is goodwill, a deliberate wish for well-being, beginning with yourself and spreading outward. This resets your heart so practice does not become a cold audit of your flaws. The third is harmlessness, choosing not to cause harm in thought, word, or action. In a retreat setting, that might mean refusing to rehearse grudges in your head, not pushing your body beyond its limits, and not turning your mind into an enemy when it wanders. Those 3 intentions together make your solitude feel clean and kind. If this language feels abstract, make it concrete by writing a single sentence that captures your aim. Keep it short and human, something you could say to a friend. A line like, "May this time purify confusion and increase compassion," does the job well. It holds both the cleaning up and the warming up. Put that sentence where you can see it. When restlessness hits and you find yourself getting up to do laundry for no reason, read it. When doubt whispers that you are wasting time, read it. Let it be a compass, not a slogan. If the sentence starts to feel dry, refresh it in words that fit your situation today. You might say, "May this day reduce harm and grow patience," or "May clarity and kindness meet here." The exact phrasing matters less than the sincerity. Say it out loud in the morning and again before sleep. Feel how your chest and face respond when you say it. Let the body know what the mind intends. There is a small but powerful addition you can make to that sentence. Include someone else. Dedicating the benefit of your practice to specific people or to all beings stretches the horizon of your solitude. It is a quiet antidote to the subtle grasping that asks, "What am I getting out of this?" You can name a person who is ill, a friend who is struggling, or even a group you care about, like your neighborhood nurses or your children's teachers. You can also dedicate it to all beings, which sounds grand, but is simply a way of not drawing a small circle around your heart. If you feel skeptical, that is healthy. Dedication is not a magic beam you shoot across town. It is a way of training your mind to remember that whatever steadiness or insight grows in you will shape how you speak, how you listen, and how you act. That is how it reaches others. When you keep others in view, you are less likely to make your retreat a fortress and more likely to leave it ready to help. You might wonder how right view shows up in the small choices of a day. It begins with shifting your questions. Instead of asking, "How do I feel right now and how can I feel better immediately?" you ask, "What is causing stress right now and what happens if I stop fueling it?" When irritation rolls in, right view invites you to look at the ingredients. Tiredness is here. A story about someone who did not answer your text is here. A tight jaw is here. Each piece is workable. You breathe. You soften the jaw. You set the story down and return to the body. You are not fixing the world. You are learning how suffering forms and how it stops forming. That learning is portable. It is something you can take back into a hard meeting or a noisy commute. Right intention guides how you respond when the mind throws curveballs. Restlessness is a common one. The mind decides that folding towels would be more spiritual than sitting still. This is where your intention sentence earns its keep. You pause, you read it, and you feel the urge in your belly and hands without obeying it. That is renunciation in real time. With goodwill, you add a touch of warmth. You can say to yourself, "May I be patient." With harmlessness, you avoid the trap of scolding. You do not call yourself lazy or weak. You simply return. Another curveball is self-centered fantasy. You might catch yourself imagining how impressed others will be when you tell them about your retreat. Goodwill here means turning your attention to the actual experience, wishing well for whoever is in your mind. And harmlessness means not feeding vanity, not because it is a sin, but because it clouds perception. You let the fantasy pass the way a weather front passes. Noticed, allowed, not owned. There is a gentle discipline in keeping these intentions visible. You can put your sentence on a card by your cushion or on the mirror you use in the morning. If you are staying off screens, paper is better. If you are not, a lock screen works. You can also set small triggers that remind you of view and intention. The moment you sit down to eat, the moment you lie down at night, the moment you open or close a door. At each little threshold, repeat the line. The repetition is not mindless. It is like setting a tone. Over a day or two, you will notice that the tone holds even when the mind is busy. You will reach for the sentence when you need it, and you will feel its shape inside your choices. The middle way is a phrase the Buddha used for a path that avoids extremes. In solitude, that means not turning your retreat into a boot camp and not turning it into a vacation. Right view and right intention are how you steer. If you notice a punishing streak, the kind that wants to sit perfectly no matter what, remember that the aim is to understand suffering and stop feeding it, not to accumulate hours like trophies. So you make a humane adjustment. You sit a little less rigidly. You add a short walk. You stop before pain becomes injury. If you notice indulgence taking over, the kind that says you deserve endless naps and snacks because life is hard, remember your intention to renounce what is not needed and to cultivate clarity. So you set down the second cookie, you show up for the next meditation, you keep your promise. It is a steady kindness, not a mood. People sometimes feel guilty about taking time alone. They worry that it is selfish. Right view and right intention help dissolve that guilt at the root. You are not withdrawing to avoid your responsibilities. You are training your attention and heart so that when you show up with less reactivity and more care. You can even name that in your sentence if guilt is loud. May this time help me cause less harm. That is not a loophole, it is the point. If you live with others, you can tell them that is your aim. It sets the tone for how you will re-enter, and it keeps you accountable to something larger than your comfort. If you do not identify as Buddhist, you can still use these tools. Right view becomes a clear understanding of what problem you are trying to solve. You are not trying to become special. You are learning how stress forms and how to meet life without adding extra knots. Right intention becomes a set of values you can test. Let go a little. Wish well. Do no harm. These are not beliefs. They are practices. When they work, you feel the difference. Fewer spikes of anger, fewer mindless loops, more room to breathe before you speak. When they do not work, you adjust without drama. That friendly skepticism is part of the practice. A small ritual at the start of each day can anchor all of this. Sit quietly. Let your hands rest. Name why you are here. I am here to understand the patterns that tire me and to release them. I am here to water patience and kindness. Say your sentence. Add your dedication. If a face comes to mind, include it. If not, widen to include everyone who is struggling today, which is to say, everyone. Feel the breath move a few times. Then begin whatever you plan to do. When the day ends, before sleep, touch in again. Did your choices match your view and intention? If they did not, do not build a case against yourself. Recommit. The path is full of fresh starts. You may also find that intention adjusts how you relate to pleasant experiences. Sometimes solitude brings a wave of calm or joy. Right view encourages you to enjoy it without clinging. This is a byproduct, not the prize. Right intention nudges you to share it, at least in spirit. When you feel a good moment, you can dedicate it right then. May this ease ripple into how I speak to my partner. It sounds simple, and it is, but it trains the mind to keep opening rather than holding. You will notice later in a tense conversation that you have a little more space inside. That is the fruit of how you practiced earlier. There will also be dull stretches, boredom, heaviness, foggy thinking. Here, the three intentions are like a toolkit you know how to reach for. Renunciation asks you not to anesthetize with quick hits. Goodwill invites a kind tone. Boredom is not failure, it is a human state. Harmlessness reminds you not to attack yourself with judgment. Sometimes a small adjustment helps, like standing up for a minute or feeling the breath more clearly in the belly. But the frame stays. Learn how suffering works, do not add to it, and keep the heart on your side. One more way intention supports solitude is by making it less performative. When you know exactly why you stepped back, you feel less urge to report on it or impress anyone. The benefits will show in how you carry yourself afterward. You will likely listen a little more and react a little less. If you catch yourself rehearsing a story about your retreat to tell others with a shine on it, bring in harmlessness and goodwill. You can share what was useful without turning it into a credential. That keeps the practice clean and protects it from becoming another identity to defend. Over time, you may notice that starting with view and intention makes every other part of retreat easier. The schedule you choose fits the aim rather than your vanity. The boundaries you set feel compassionate rather than rigid. The silence you keep becomes a way to hear more, not a way to shut life out. But it all begins with that quiet moment of asking, what am I doing here? When the answer is to understand suffering and end it a little, to let go a little, to wish well, and to do no harm, then your time alone becomes the middle way in action. It is steady, it is humane, and it is unpretentious. You are not fleeing. You are training. And when the door opens again, the world gets the benefit. With your aim set and your heart oriented toward clarity and kindness, the next move is to shape the conditions so they actually carry you. The container you build around your solitude matters as much as what you do inside it. Without a clear container, even the best intention gets diluted by chores, pings, and random tasks that feel urgent for 5 minutes and irrelevant an hour later. So you make a simple frame that is ethical, boundaried, and gentle enough to keep you steady. A reliable way to set the ethical tone is to take the 5 precepts as temporary vows for the time you are in retreat. In plain English, this means you commit to not harming living beings, not taking what is not given, keeping sexuality simple and respectful, speaking truthfully and kindly, and not using intoxicants that cloud the mind. You do not need to make a public ceremony. You can say it quietly to yourself in the morning, and maybe write a line where you will see it. These are not punishments or purity tests. They are practical guardrails that let your mind relax because it knows the ground rules. For not harming, you might move a spider outside rather than squashing it. And you also include yourself in the circle of non-harm by not pushing your body past pain. For not taking what is not given, you avoid the small ways you might normally grab, like streaming paid content on a borrowed account or rummaging through someone else's stuff. For sexuality, you dial the energy way down. No flirting, no porn, no suggestive messages, and if you are partnered, you agree together to keep this period quiet, concentrating your energy on practice. Truthful and kind speech is straightforward during solitude because you will talk less. When you do communicate, you keep it clean and necessary. As for intoxicants, you skip alcohol and recreational drugs. If you drink coffee or tea, notice how much actually supports alertness without creating jitters, and consider trimming it back a bit. The precepts are about creating a simple, trustworthy field so your system can settle. Boundaries keep that field from being trampled. Technology is the big one. Tell the people who need to know that you will be offline. Set an auto-reply for email and messages that says you will be away and when you will return, and give a way to reach you only in real emergencies. Something like, "I am on retreat and not checking messages. If truly urgent, please send a text marked urgent. I will check one time in the early evening." Then stick to that promise. Put your phone on airplane mode and do not disturb. Move it to another room if you can. If you use it as a timer, keep only the timer available and silence everything else. Delete or hide apps that hook you. Laptops get closed and put away. If you have to use a device for practical needs like paying a bill or pulling up a meditation bell, do it at a planned time and end it when the task is finished, not when the internet decides you are done. You are not trying to live in a cave. You are protecting attention so it can recover from the constant sprint it is used to running. Work boundaries need the same clarity. Set an out-of-office message with a firm return date, block your calendar, and decline meetings in advance. The slippery part is the tiny exceptions. "I will just answer this one thing." Those are the cracks where the container leaks. Decide in advance that you will not negotiate during the retreat. If truly unavoidable work arises, schedule a short, explicit window to handle it and keep your promise not to spread it across the day. If you live with family or roommates, inform them ahead of time and propose practical agreements, quiet hours, shared chores adjusted for the retreat, and a plan for urgent needs. You can post a simple sign on the door, and you can teach children a code like a colored sticker that means you will be available after the bell rings. This is not about being precious. It is about minimizing mid-retreat decisions because those decisions burn energy you want for awareness. Then there is a schedule. The word can sound stiff, but think of it as a small rhythm that stops you from drifting. Set start and end times you can actually keep. If you choose to begin at 7 in the morning, then begin at 7 in the morning even if you slept badly. If you choose to end practice at 9 in the evening, close the day, then instead of squeezing one more podcast in bed. A gentle daily arc often works best. Wake up, wash your face, drink some water, stretch lightly, and sit for about half an hour. Eat breakfast without screens. After breakfast, do a second session of practice, maybe alternating sitting and walking, then a short break. Midday, prepare a simple meal and eat it calmly, rest a little, and include a short walk outside if that is possible. In the afternoon, repeat a couple rounds of sitting and walking, do a light chore like sweeping or washing dishes slowly, and keep the tone quiet. In the early evening, have a small meal, and then do a softer period of practice such as loving kindness or a body scan before bed. You can sleep a bit earlier than usual and aim for about 8 hours of rest. None of this is heroic. If a session is set for 20 minutes and your knee starts screaming, stand up and continue the period as mindful standing or walking. The key is to keep the container, not to keep a posture at any cost. Meals are part of the container. Choose simple, light foods that are easy to prepare and digest. Soup, rice, vegetables, a bit of protein suited to your diet, fruit, tea. Plan ahead so you are not inventing recipes when hungry. Avoid overeating. Clarity drops when the body is busy with heavy digestion. You can decide in advance how many meals you will have and at what general times, and then keep that. Eating becomes a practice period. Sit down, look at the food, notice smells and colors, put the utensil down between bites, and taste. If the mind tries to reach for a screen, remember that you designed this to reduce inputs. Clean up right after. A tidy sink is part of a tidy mind. Environment supports all of this more than people expect. Before you begin, clean the space. Reduce visual clutter, clear surfaces, and arrange a simple practice spot. You do not need anything fancy. A chair or cushion, a blanket if it is cold, and a small focal point that reminds you of the qualities you want to cultivate. That could be a plant, a stone from a beach, a candle if it is safe, or a photo of a teacher or a place that settles you. Place your intention sentence there so you see it often. Check lighting during the times you will practice. Soft daylight is helpful if you have it. At night, use a warm lamp rather than a bright overhead. Put earplugs nearby if your environment is noisy. Lay out comfortable clothes so you are not making choices about outfits. The fewer micro decisions your day demands, the more attention you have for the practice itself. Deciding the length of the retreat is another design choice that benefits from honesty. Pick a duration that fits your actual capacity. If you are new to solitude, an afternoon can be plenty. If you have some experience and support, a full day or a weekend can work well. If you take a week, make the rest of your life simple enough that you are not pulled back in midstream. There is no prize for longer. A short period you actually keep is more valuable than an ambitious plan that collapses by lunchtime. At the end of each day, do a quiet review. Sit down with a cup of tea, breathe for a minute, and ask 2 straightforward questions. What supported clarity today, and what got in the way? Keep your notes very short so you do not turn it into a productivity report. A few lines in a notebook is enough. You might notice that a lighter lunch made the afternoon steadier, or that checking messages just to be safe spun you out for an hour. Use that information to adjust tomorrow's container. Compassion is the theme that keeps the container humane. Discipline matters, but it is not the same as harshness. If you notice strain building, like headaches from too many long sits or irritability that does not settle, update the plan. Add a gentle walk, shorten a session by 5 minutes, or include a period of loving kindness to balance out intense observation. If you notice collapse, like drifting into naps all afternoon or spending long breaks reorganizing drawers, tighten the plan a little. Set clearer start and end times. Choose a simpler meal so cooking is not a hobby, and commit to one more formal session than you feel like doing. The middle way is not a slogan. It is what you do when you see the tilt to one side. You steer a little back. It helps to set a few non-negotiables. For many people, 3 anchors stabilize the day. 1 sit shortly after waking, 1 period of mindful movement or walking before lunch, and 1 heart-centered practice in the evening. Everything else can have a bit of give. Use a simple bell or timer to mark the start and end of periods. Choose a sound that is soft. When the bell ends a session, end the session, even if the mind wants to keep going or stop early. You are training reliability, and reliability grows trust in yourself. That trust will matter when you re-enter normal life and want to keep a morning sit or a quiet walk as part of your week. If you live with others, the container needs to be shared. Ask for the support you need and offer something in return so it does not feel one-sided. You might cook an extra pot of soup beforehand, arrange school drop-offs with a friend, or trade quiet time with a partner on different days. If you have caregiving responsibilities that cannot be paused, design shorter but more frequent practice periods and keep technology boundaries narrower rather than total. Even with small pockets, the container principle holds: clear ethics, clear boundaries, simple rhythm. A word about safety and health. If intense anxiety, depression, or traumatic memories are active in your system, make the container even more gentle. Keep sessions shorter, emphasize grounding through the senses, include more movement, and consider a daily check-in with a trusted person who understands your plan. None of this is a failure. The container is there to protect you, not to force a certain shape of practice. If something feels off, reduce intensity and reach out for support. You can also fold in small joys that are wholesome and steadying, like sitting in sunlight for a few minutes or listening to birds. These are not distractions. They are ways to regulate so practice remains workable. As you move through the day, let ordinary chores be part of the frame rather than breaks from it. Washing dishes, folding laundry, sweeping the floor, watering a plant, taking out the trash, all of these can be done at an unhurried pace with attention on the body and the senses. Notice the temperature of the water, the sound of the broom, the weight of the fabric. When your mind wanders, return to the contact of your feet on the ground. Keeping the space clean is not a side project. It is what supports a clean mind, and it is satisfying in a simple way that does not depend on achievement. Your container can include a modest ritual that opens and closes each day. In the morning, you might light a candle or place a hand on your heart and repeat your intention sentence, then dedicate the day to someone who comes to mind. In the evening, you can gently reflect on how the precepts went, where you stuck to your boundaries, and where you slid. If you broke a boundary, acknowledge it without scolding, reset the plan, and go to sleep. The brain learns from repetition and from tone. A kind tone makes new habits stick better than criticism. Over time, you will notice what details matter to you. Some people do better with 2 or 3 longer practice periods and generous silent stretches in between. Others keep sessions shorter and more numerous to stay alert. Some prefer more walking, especially if sitting is painful. Some find that writing a single paragraph after lunch clarifies the mind, while longer journaling derails it. You do not have to guess. Your end-of-day review will tell you. Adjust slowly so you can see cause and effect. When a change helps, keep it. When it does not, let it go. If any of this sounds strict, try it for one day and see how it feels. Most people find that the structure actually relaxes them because it reduces choice overload. They stop negotiating with themselves every hour and simply follow the rhythm they already agreed to. The mind starts to trust that it will get a chance to rest and a chance to look closely. That trust is the real gift of a good container. It makes your solitude steady and humane. It keeps your ethics warm. It turns off the noise at the edges so you can hear your own life more clearly. And when the day ends, you will know you cared for your intention not by force, but by design. With the structure holding you and the day no longer ruled by constant decisions, the next helpful move is to turn down the volume on words themselves. This is where noble silence comes in. In simple terms, it means you refrain from unnecessary speech and you set aside media and communication that are not truly needed. You do not go mute to make a point or to be dramatic. You choose quiet because it saves energy for awareness and it lets you see habits that are hard to notice when conversation and scrolling fill every gap. Noble silence can sound formal, but it is very practical. Think of how much of a normal day is spent reacting to comments, composing replies, and managing how you appear to others. Even when you are alone, the mind often performs for an imagined audience. In silence, you pause that cycle. You stop feeding the loop of impressions. You do not add more words to the air or to the mind than are necessary for safety and basic logistics. That might mean you do not speak at all for a day, or you limit speech to short, factual sentences for essentials like a delivery or a quick answer to a family member. It also means letting go of podcasts, news, social feeds, and entertainment. They are just different kinds of talking, and they keep the attention jumping from one storyline to another. When they fall away, you get to watch what your mind does on its own. That is the point, not a performance of being silent. Handling practical needs without breaking the spirit of silence is easier than people expect. You can prepare a few simple signals. A small card that says you are in silence, used politely if you live with others, avoids awkwardness. A nod and a smile communicate a lot. If you must speak for an essential reason, keep it brief and neutral, then return to quiet. If you need to coordinate meals or a chore with someone, do it at a prearranged time and keep the tone friendly and clear. Silence is not a rigid rule that makes you cold. It is a choice to reduce unnecessary words so attention can gather. The biggest shift is usually not on the outside. It is inside your head. As soon as external conversation stops, the inner commentator tends to rev up. You might notice running narratives about plans, memories, opinions, or replayed arguments. Do not try to smash this inner speech. It has momentum. Meet it with interest. Each time you notice a storyline forming, label it gently as thinking and return to a simple anchor like the breath or the feeling of your feet on the floor. The labeling is light, one quiet word in the mind, just enough to remind you that a mental event is happening. Then touch the anchor, feel the next in-breath, the next out-breath. Feel the weight of the body on the chair. If the same storyline returns 24 times, you repeat the process 24 times. There is no problem with repetition. That is training. People often ask whether they should write during noble silence. A few brief notes for logistics or a short reflection at the end of the day can be fine. Long journaling, though, easily turns into another form of talking. If you find yourself writing to explain, justify, or impress, even if the audience is future you, close the notebook for now. Save your energy for direct experience. You can always capture insights later. During silence, it is more helpful to sit, walk, and feel what is present than to produce long commentaries about it. Another common question is whether listening to guided meditations fits with noble silence. If a short, simple guidance helps you settle at the start of a sit, use it sparingly and then switch it off. The aim is to hear your own mind, not a stream of instructions every time you close your eyes. You might take one short reading each day from a Dharma book or a poem that supports your intention, then sit with the resonance without seeking more input. Trust that the world can turn without your comment and without constant updates delivered to your ears. That trust is a relief you can feel. Social masking is a habit many of us wear without realizing it. It is the subtle adjusting of posture, tone, and words to manage how others see us. In silence, mask and mirror both are set down for a while. You may feel a little raw at first, because you are not managing impressions. That is normal. Underneath the impulse to present a certain way, you will find actual sensations: tightness in the stomach, warmth in the face, a ripple of fear when attention turns inward. Naming those sensations quietly and staying with them builds honesty. You are learning to be with what is true in the body and mind when there is no one to charm or persuade. Over time, this honesty is deeply restful. You do not have to be on. Silence can bring up restlessness. You might feel bored, like you want to check something, say something, or fix something. See if you can treat boredom as a signal rather than a problem. It often means the mind is coming down from stimulation and does not yet know how to rest without new input. Take a few slow breaths, walk a little, feel your steps. If you are drawn to speak just to break the quiet, pause for 10 breaths. Most urges crest and fall in less than a minute. If an important thought appears, like a real safety issue or a calendar detail you must not forget, write a short, factual reminder and return to silence. You are building trust that essentials can be handled without opening the floodgates. If you are practicing at home and still moving through ordinary spaces, noble silence asks for some social finesse. If someone talks to you directly, You can choose to respond briefly and kindly rather than forcing silence in a way that feels awkward or rude. A simple sentence like, "I am on a day of quiet practice, so I am keeping words short. Thanks for understanding," keeps the spirit intact while respecting others. If you go outside for a walk, keep headphones off and the phone tucked away. Make room for simple human courtesies like a hello nod to a neighbor when appropriate. Silence is not an excuse to ignore the world. It is a different way to be in it. Inside the mind, you will meet specific kinds of talk. Planning is a strong one. The mind wants to plan meals, projects, or post-retreat life. You can use the same label and return method. Thinking and back to the breath or the step. When plans feel urgent, schedule a tiny planning window later in the day, maybe after lunch, and keep it to a few minutes with pen and paper. Outside that window, return to your anchor. Memory is another stream. The mind replays old scenes, sometimes painful, sometimes pleasant. Let them pass like any other thought. If a memory brings strong emotion, feel where it lands in the body and soften the breath. Silence is not about pushing emotion away. It is about not telling yourself more stories than needed when a feeling is already present. The shorter the story, the easier it is to meet the feeling directly. Arguments in the head can be sticky. You might hear yourself rehearsing what you would say to someone if you had the chance. Notice the pull. Label it. Feel the body. Sometimes it helps to offer goodwill to the person in your mind, a quiet wish like "may you be well," then return to your anchor. This is not virtue signaling. It is a way to stop feeding hostility when you are alone with it. Hostility costs energy and blurs perception. Goodwill clears the lens. As hours of silence gather, you will likely notice that ordinary moments get sharper. The taste of tea is more distinct. The sound of rain has layers you had not noticed. The mind is used to leaping ahead. With fewer words to chase, it begins to land where you actually are. This is not mystical. It is a normal response when input drops and attention has a chance to rest on simple reality. Vividness can feel pleasant, but it is not the goal. It is a sign that the mind is less entangled and more available. If sleepiness shows up, do not fight it with chatter. Stand up, open a window, take a few deeper breaths, and feel your feet. Walk slowly until the fog lifts. If fatigue is strong, a short, intentional rest can help, set with a gentle timer so it does not slide into hours. Then, return to silence. If agitation shows up instead, shorten sits and add more walking. Silence does not mean stillness at all costs. It means you keep the noise down while adjusting posture and pace so awareness can stay steady. Some people worry that silence will make them feel lonely. It can, especially at the start, because you are not getting the usual social strokes that confirm you exist and are okay. Meet loneliness as a set of sensations and thoughts. Notice what it does in the chest and throat. Label the thoughts that stack on top of it. Offer yourself a little warmth. A phrase like, "May I be at ease in my own company." Keep it simple. Over time, that lonely edge often softens into a sense of being quietly connected to the world around you, even without exchange. Trees move, light shifts across the floor, breath comes and goes. You are part of that without having to narrate it. Media silence deserves a clear word. News and podcasts are not neutral. They are designed to grab attention and keep it. During a period of noble silence, stepping away from them is not neglect. It is a test of what your mind is like without constant external storylines. If breaking news truly requires attention because of safety or family, set one very short, specific check time and avoid commentary. Read the necessary facts, take any needed action, and step out. Otherwise, protect the quiet on purpose. You are not underinformed if you spend a day or a week in silence. You are allowing your system to reset. If mental health concerns are present, such as heavy anxiety or trauma history, shape noble silence to be kinder. Keep practice periods shorter, add more grounding through the senses, and include daily human contact with a supportive person, if that steadies you. Silence is not all or nothing. It is a scale. You can hold the spirit of it while adapting the form so that you feel safe. If you notice rumination becoming harsh or looping in ways that are not easing with the label and return method, stand up, move, look out the window, name colors, feel textures. Use your senses to return to the present. Then try sitting again for a shorter period. The voice itself can relax in silence. When you do need to speak, let the words be slower and softer. Notice the impulse to fill space with extra sentences. You can stop before you start explaining. A short thank you is often enough. If you are prone to sarcasm or sharpness, you may be surprised how they fade when you are not practicing them. That is part of the benefit of cutting the stream. Habits weaken when they are not rehearsed. Gaze also plays a role. In silence, it helps to keep your eyes resting easily rather than scanning for stimulation. When sitting, lower your eyes or close them softly. When walking, keep your field of view broad rather than darting from object to object. This reduces the subtle hunting for what to think about next. The body picks up the cue and settles. Endings and beginnings during the day can be marked without words. A single breath when you stand up or sit down is enough. At the start of a meal, pause for a breath and sense gratitude without a speech. Before sleep, pause again and let the day drop. These micro pauses thread the quiet through ordinary actions, so you do not need constant reminders or rules. If you break silence unintentionally, or you find yourself halfway through a funny story before you remember your plan, just stop where you are. Smile, apologize if needed, and return to quiet. There is no need to start over or judge yourself. The practice is to come back. That simple movement back to the intention is more valuable than an unbroken record. Over a day or several days, noble silence helps you see patterns that are otherwise hidden. You learn how much of your attention is spent editing yourself for others. You see how stories gather around a single spark and take off. You feel how energy is saved when you do not join every internal conversation. The mind becomes a little more transparent to itself. You do not have to make big claims about insight. You will know because reactivity lowers a notch, and ordinary moments feel sufficient without extra decoration. When the day winds down, notice how your nervous system feels after hours of reduced talk. There is usually a physical sense of space, like a room where clutter has been cleared out. Let that register without turning it into a narrative about success. Tomorrow, you can enter the quiet again. Keep returning to the simple definition. Noble silence is setting aside unnecessary speech and media so that you can hear experience more directly. Hold it gently, adapt as needed, and let the quiet do some of the work for you. With the quiet doing some of the work, the next reliable move is to give your attention a home base that is always available. The breath is perfect for that. It is present, it is neutral, and it is close. Mindfulness of breathing, called anapanasati in the old teachings, is simply learning to notice the breath as it is and returning to it again and again. You are not trying to engineer a special kind of breathing. You are training steadiness. That steadiness makes the rest of your practice easier because your mind has a familiar anchor when it starts to wander. Start by sitting comfortably. You can use a cushion on the floor or a chair. Either is fine. Let the spine be upright without being stiff, as if you are giving your lungs room. Place your hands wherever they feel natural, on your thighs or in your lap. Relax your jaw, soften your shoulders, and let your belly be free. Your eyes can be softly closed or slightly open with a gentle downward gaze. Take a moment to feel the weight of your body and the contact points that support you. This small check-in helps the mind agree to be here. Now, find where the breath shows up most clearly for you. For some people, it is the coolness and warmth at the nostrils. For others, it is the rise and fall of the chest or the movement of the belly. There is no correct spot. Choose the place that gives you the clearest, simplest sensation. Let the breath come and go on its own. You do not need to make it deeper or slower. Natural is best. Your job is to be interested in how it feels to breathe right now. As you begin, keep the instructions simple. Know the in-breath as it comes in. Know the out-breath as it goes out. That is enough. If it helps, you can lightly whisper in your mind in and out for a few minutes to establish the rhythm, then let the words drop and stay with direct sensation. When the attention wanders, which it will, notice what took it away. Thinking, planning, memory, a sound outside, an itch. Acknowledge the distraction without scolding yourself and gently return to the next in-breath. Treat each return as a normal part of the practice because it is. You are building the habit of coming back. If your mind is jumpy, counting can give it a soft structure. Count each exhalation from 1 to 10, then begin again at 1. If you lose track, just start again at 1 without a sigh. Keep the numbers light so they do not take over the whole field. The breath stays primary. The count is a thread that helps you stay. After a while, when the mind steadies, you can let the counting fade and simply follow the breath. If counting makes you tense or competitive, drop it and return to raw sensation. Some people notice that focusing on a small area, like the nostrils, sharpens attention quickly. Others feel tight when they do that. If tightness appears, widen the field a little to include the whole body breathing. Feel how the belly, chest, and back move together, like one connected field. This is still mindfulness of breathing, just with a broader frame. The goal is not to nail the breath to a spot. It is to cultivate a steady, relaxed attention that can stay with what is happening. You may discover that the breath changes when you watch it. That is normal. Attention itself nudges the nervous system. If the breath becomes a bit shallow or deep, let it be. If you feel an urge to control it, soften your belly and jaw and let a natural exhale happen. If you have asthma or breathing sensitivity, keep the focus soft and consider resting attention on the movement of the torso rather than the air at the nose. You can even place a hand on your belly to feel movement directly. Comfort and safety come first. Sleepiness and restlessness are the most common visitors. When sleepiness shows up, lift your posture a little, open your eyes, and take a few slightly fuller breaths. You can also stand and continue the period as mindful standing. A short stretch or a few slow steps can reset you. When restlessness appears and the body wants to fidget, note restless in your mind. Feel where that agitation sits in your body and return to the breath for just this next inhale and exhale. Breaking it down into one breath makes it doable. If the agitation is strong, switch to walking for a few minutes and feel each step, then sit again and continue. Adjustments like this are part of skillful practice. You are not failing by moving. You are keeping awareness alive. Thoughts will come, quite a lot at first. This is where the simple label thinking is helpful. Each time you notice a storyline beginning, mark it lightly, then return to the breath. If the story has emotional heat, like an argument in your head or a fear about the future, include the body sensations that go with it. Tight chest, throat pressure, heat in the face. Let a few breaths pass with attention on those sensations, then return to the breath's steady rhythm. Over time, this trains non-attachment. The mind learns that it can notice a thought without becoming the thought. As the breath steadies, you will naturally start to notice more than air going in and out. You will notice feeling tone, which is a simple way to name whether a moment feels pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. This is not an opinion. It is that first, quick flavor that arrives with any contact. You might notice that certain breaths feel soothing and others feel a bit tight. You might see how a pleasant tone tempts you to chase and an unpleasant tone tempts you to resist. Noticing tone without grabbing or pushing is part of the training. It helps you respond more wisely later when life brings bigger waves. Mind states also become clear. You may see calm, irritation, doubt, confidence, or boredom come and go. Again, the instruction is light. Name it if that helps, then return to the breath. The breath is not there to block these states. It is there to give you a steady place to stand while they pass. This is how reactivity drops. You are practicing seeing without adding extra noise. If the breath becomes very subtle, so soft you can barely find it, do not panic. Soften your effort and rest in the quiet that is present. If that feels too vague, bring attention back to a clearer area like the belly or even the feeling of your hands touching each other. Sometimes the breath pauses. There may be a small gap between an exhale and the next inhale. Let that be. The body knows what to do. You do not need to manage it. Practical details help. Set a gentle timer so you are not checking the clock. Choose a length that you can keep. Many people do well with about 20 minutes at first, then move to about 30 or even 40 as steadiness grows, but your body will tell you. Start each sit with a short posture check. Name your intention once and then begin. When the bell sounds, take a breath before you move. If you have time, follow the sit with a few minutes of slow walking to integrate the attention into movement. If the nose gets dry or tickly, it is okay to breathe through the mouth for a few breaths or to switch the focus to the belly. If swallowing, yawning, or small twitches appear, let them happen without adding a mental story. Bodies do what they do. If a pain grows, adjust slowly and mindfully rather than forcing yourself to endure. Pain is information, not an enemy. Small shifts of angle or a cushion under a knee can make all the difference. Sometimes focusing on the breath can stir anxiety for a person. If that happens, back off the detail level. Keep the field broad, include sounds and contact points alongside the breath, and keep your eyes open with a soft gaze. If anxiety spikes, place a hand on your chest or belly to give a sense of containment. Take a few steady breaths and allow your attention to settle on the feeling of your feet. When the system calms, you can return to the breath more closely. You are allowed to tailor the practice so it supports you. As steadiness grows, the practice can widen naturally, much like the old discourse on mindfulness of breathing describes. You become aware of the whole body breathing. You notice the feel of each inhalation and each exhalation from start to finish. You see how the breath and the body influence the mind and mood. Sometimes a calm spreads. You can let the breath soothe the body on purpose by relaxing on the exhale. Sometimes joy or ease appears. Receive it without clinging. These are normal signs that effort and relaxation are balancing. They are not trophies. Let them come and let them go. On some days, concentration arrives easily. On others, the mind stays busy. Keep the technique simple and consistent across both kinds of days. The win is not a special state. The win is the reliability of your return. Over time, that reliability shows up outside formal practice. You catch yourself mid-snap in a conversation and find a breath before you speak. You feel the first rise of worry and notice it as worry rather than a command. This is how mindfulness of breathing prepares the mind for insight into how experience builds itself moment by moment. You see cause and effect because you have slowed down enough to watch it happen. If sitting is difficult for your body, you can practice lying down with the same instructions. Keep the posture alert by bending your knees or placing a cushion under your head so you do not drift straight to sleep. The hand-on belly option is especially helpful lying down. If you fall asleep, that is a message about tiredness. Give your body the rest it needs, then try again later with a shorter period. It can be helpful to weave the breath into simple daily acts so the line between formal practice and the rest of the day softens. Before you open a door, take one conscious breath. Before you start a meal, one breath. When you notice tension in your shoulders, one breath with a softening exhale. These small stitches keep attention nearby. They also make it easier to sit down later because the mind recognizes the territory. Be honest with yourself about effort. Too much strain and the breath feels tight. Too little effort and attention slumps and drifts. Aim for a middle amount. You can test this by asking, can I stay with one full breath without forcing? If yes, extend that to the next few breaths. If not, reduce pressure. Sometimes smiling very slightly releases over-effort. It sounds trivial, but it changes the tone in the face, and that tells the rest of you to ease. If you like phrases, you can pair the breath with a quiet line for a few minutes. Something simple like calming the body, calming the mind on the out-breath. Keep it subtle so the words do not replace the direct feel of breathing. Use it as a reminder to relax what can relax. Noise around you does not have to break the practice. Sounds can sit in the background while you keep primary attention on the breath. If a loud noise pulls you, include it for a moment, note hearing, and then come back. If you are in a place with constant sounds, let them be part of the field rather than adversaries. Your anchor is strong enough to share the space. There is also a simple way to check progress that does not depend on special experiences. After a sit, ask yourself whether reactivity is a little lower than before you sat. Did you have a few breaths where you were present without grabbing at or pushing away? Did you return after distractions without drama? If the answer is yes, in even a small way, the practice is working. Keep going. As the retreat days unfold, mindfulness of breathing can be the backbone of your schedule. It pairs well with walking, with mindful chores, and with heart practices. You can start the morning with a sit focused on the breath, weave it in again in the afternoon, and close the evening with a softer version that leans toward calm. The exact timing is less important than the consistency. Keep it humane. You are training a friendly steadiness, not drilling a performance. If you reach a point where the breath feels boring, look closer. Boredom often means the mind has stopped noticing detail. Renew your curiosity about texture, temperature, movement, gaps, and the subtle start and end of a breath. Notice how the first third of an inhale feels different from the last third. Notice the micropause before an exhale begins. These are not fancy tricks. They are ways to keep perception fresh so attention stays engaged without strain. If you notice pride or discouragement creeping in, meet those as mind states and return to the breath. The breath does not care whether you think you are doing well or badly. That is part of its usefulness. It is neutral. It welcomes you back every time. Each return resets the tone of the mind towards simple presence. By the time you have spent a day or two with this practice, you will likely feel why it is recommended so widely. The steadiness it builds is practical. It reduces your tendency to react instantly. It gives you a way to meet feelings without drowning in them. It opens a door to seeing how experience assembles, breath by breath, sensation by sensation, thought by thought. Start simple. Keep the instructions light. Adjust when needed, and let the breath teach you how to stay. As your attention learns to stay with the breath without force, you have enough steadiness to look more closely at what experience is actually doing. The most practical frame for that is to notice 3 things right in the middle of your life as it is. Everything you meet changes. It is not fully reliable for lasting satisfaction, and it does not belong to a solid controller. In plain English, that is impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and not self. You do not have to believe any of this in advance. You can test it in real time, with sensations, moods, and thoughts as your lab. Start with impermanence because it is the easiest to verify. Take the breath you have been following and look at it with a bit more detail. Each inhalation starts, fills, changes texture, and ends. Each exhalation does the same. Pick one breath and feel where it begins. Notice the moment it turns, and then the moment it finishes. If your attention is steady enough, you will feel tiny shifts inside a single breath. The first third is not the same as the last third. Let that observation widen to the whole body. An itch shows up, grows a little, maybe fades before you scratch. A sound arrives from the street, swells, and disappears. Warmth on your cheek cools when a breeze passes. You are not forcing these things to move. You are watching their built-in rhythm. Emotions show the same pattern when you break them down into parts. Say irritation appears. Without telling a long story about why, look at where irritation lands. Maybe there is heat in the face, a knot in the stomach, clenched fists. Keep your attention on those sensations for half a minute. They change. They pulse. They spread. They soften. Or they pull somewhere else. Thoughts that claim this always happens are not describing what your body is showing you right now. When you start to see that even strong states move on their own timetable, something in you relaxes. You do not have to push them away or hold them in place. You can track them as they rise and pass. Impermanence is not a trick for making unpleasant experiences pleasant. It is a way to meet what is present without adding extra fight. If the knee hurts while you sit, you can test this directly. Stay with the pain for a few breaths and feel its shape. Is it sharp in one point or spread out? Does it pulse? Does it stay exactly the same, or are there tiny differences across a few seconds? Often you will find micro gaps or changes in intensity. If the pain is too strong, change posture mindfully. You are not proving a point. You are training the mind to see what is actually happening rather than what habit says is happening. Once you start to see change, the next observation flows naturally. Experiences do not stay satisfying on their own. This does not mean joy is bad. It means that even a sweet breath, a good memory, or a warm cup of tea cannot hold you in a fixed state of contentment. Try it with something pleasant. Feel a wave of calm in your chest during a sit. Watch the mind lean in, wanting more of it. Notice how that leaning feels. It is often a slight tightening or a breath that gets shallow. The calm itself might still be present, but the grasping around it adds a subtle strain. The same happens with a neutral moment. Sitting quietly can feel plain, and the mind reaches for something to spice it up. That reaching is uncomfortable. You can call this unsatisfactoriness if you like, but it is simpler than the word. You are seeing that chasing or resisting adds stress. You can also test this when something unpleasant appears. A loud noise interrupts your sit. The mind spikes with a quick no. That no is not wrong. It is a reflex. But look at what it does. Shoulders lift, jaw tightens, breath catches. Then the noise fades, and the after tightness remains. If you are attentive, you will notice the second layer is what drains you. When you drop the extra layer and feel the sound as just sound, unpleasant but simple, the body does less work. Over time, you learn to catch the extra layer sooner. This does not make you a doormat for life. It gives you choices about where to spend your energy. Now to the third observation, which can sound abstract but becomes very concrete when you look at it piece by piece. Not self means that the things you experience are not owned by a solid controller inside you. They occur due to causes and conditions. You can test this by looking for the owner during a simple sit. A thought pops in. Did you order it? Often it just arrives. An intention to adjust your posture arises. Where did that come from? It was not there, and then it was there. Sensations appear and change without asking a central manager for permission. This does not mean nothing exists. It means the solid separate manager is not findable in the place you thought it would be. A useful way to explore this without getting lost in concepts is to label categories lightly. Hearing, when a sound appears. Seeing, when light and color come to the eyes. Thinking, when a thought shows up. Feeling, when emotion pulses. Then ask quietly, where is the owner of this hearing? Do not answer with words. Look. You will find sensations in the head, maybe a picture of your face, a posture, a set of expectations. None of those is an owner. They are more experiences. When this clicks even a little, the stickiness of identification softens. A painful thought can be seen as a thought. It does not define you. A pleasant mood can be enjoyed without building a new identity around it. The breath is useful here too. If you decide to take a deep breath, a decision happened. But look closely. The urge to breathe deeper appeared on its own. You did not author the urge. Then the body followed the urge with a bigger inhale. When you examine that chain, you see a series of events rather than a commander and a crew. Again, you do not need to force a conclusion. The point is to become familiar with how much experience runs on its own. That familiarity reduces the pressure to control everything and lets you respond more lightly. This kind of looking can stir fear or resistance. That is normal. If fear appears, treat it as another process to be met kindly. Recognize it, allow it for a few breaths, and feel where it lands. Fear usually has a signature, like fluttering in the belly or coolness in the hands. Let the breath be steady while you name it softly. You can remind yourself that you are simply observing how things behave, not trying to erase your personality or your responsibilities. If fear spikes too high, back off and ground yourself with the feeling of your feet or with a few minutes of walking. There is no rush to understand any of this. You are building confidence by direct observation, not by forcing insight. A simple drill ties these threads together. Sit as you have been, with the breath as your anchor. When a sensation becomes clear, put your attention there and ask 3 quiet questions in turn. What is its shape and location? Does it change? What is its feeling tone? Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Then look for the urge that follows. Is there a pull to grab it or to get rid of it? If an urge is present, feel what the urge does in the body. This shows you impermanence in the change, unsatisfactoriness in the restless pull, and not self in the way the whole process runs without an owner. Keep the questions soft so they do not turn into mental chatter. Just a light touch and a return to the breath. You can bring the same drill into walking. As the foot lifts, moves, and places, notice the micro changes. If the step feels pleasant or vigorous, see the leaning that tries to prolong it. If the step feels dull or heavy, see the push to escape it. Label the leaning or pushing, feel it in the chest or throat, and let it relax a little. The step continues. There is no need to change your gait. You are discovering how reactivity piggybacks on simple movements and how it can ease when seen clearly. Meals provide clear lessons. Take one bite and actually track it. Taste rises and fades. If the bite is delicious, watch the mouth and mind reach for more before you have even swallowed. That reach has a pinch in it. Notice it. If the food is plain, notice the impulse to add something or to rush. Neither impulse is a problem. They just show the engine of seeking at work. When you see it in small things, you will recognize it in bigger choices too. Then you can pause and pick what truly helps rather than being pushed by habit. Noise from neighbors or a barking dog is another everyday test. The sound is there. Your system calls it unpleasant. The body tightens. Thoughts pile on about respect or timing. See if you can separate the raw sound from the story and from the tightening. Feel what happens when you let the story be just words and you soften the shoulders while hearing continues. Often the stress drops even though the sound remains. You are not approving of noise. You are choosing not to carry extra weight on top of it. As you practice, it helps to set aside short periods where you turn up the resolution of observation and other periods where you return to simple breath awareness. You might spend about 15 minutes investigating sensations and mind states with the light questions, then spend about 15 minutes just staying with the breath. Alternating like this keeps the mind from getting strained. If you feel yourself getting analytical or chasing experiences, simplify. Go back to one breath at a time. If you feel dull or unfocused, add a touch of curiosity by watching beginnings and endings more closely. Common pitfalls are easy to recognize. One is turning the practice into a hunt for special effects. If you catch that, remind yourself that the goal is honesty, not fireworks. Another is spacing out under the banner of equanimity. If you feel vague or numb, open your eyes, sit a bit taller, and re-engage with clear sensations for a few minutes. A third is using the ideas to bypass pain. The notion that everything is impermanent can be wielded to skip feeling. That does not work. Let yourself feel what is present and use impermanence as a way to see that even strong waves have edges and movement. How do you know this investigation is working? You will not necessarily get a grand moment. More likely, you will notice small shifts. You get hooked a little less often. When irritation arises, you see it earlier and you have more options. Pleasant moments are enjoyable without the frantic grip. The sense of being the center of a drama loosens. You start to care for others more easily because you are not guarding a fixed self as tightly. These are quiet changes, but they are practical and reliable. Some people worry that looking into not self will make them feel like nothing matters. In practice, the opposite tends to happen. When you are less busy defending a solid identity, you have more room for straightforward care. You listen better. You apologize faster when you have made a mistake because it does not crush a fixed image. You help where you can without needing credit to stabilize your sense of self. None of this requires you to adopt a philosophy. It shows up as natural behavior when clinging relaxes. If you hit a patch where the mind argues with all of this, that is fine. Be a friendly skeptic. Ask the mind to show you its evidence. Does this sensation stay? Does this thought obey you? Does grabbing make this feeling satisfying for long? Check the answers in your body, not in concepts. If the answers do not match what you expected, adjust your views. That is the spirit of the practice. Learn by seeing. Bring compassion along whenever the investigation touches old pain. If a memory surfaces, keep the lens simple. Feel the body, name the emotion, and give yourself a gentle phrase like, "May I meet this kindly." If it is too much, shift to a grounding activity for a while. Wash your hands slowly, feel the water, look at real objects in the room, come back to investigation later. There is no badge for pushing through overwhelming material. Safety helps insight bloom. Over days of honest looking, the three themes begin to weave together without effort. Change is obvious in breath, body, and mind. The squeeze that comes from chasing or resisting becomes easier to spot and to release. The sense of an owner behind the curtain feels less convincing because you are used to seeing processes doing their thing. You will still have preferences and goals. You will still show up for your life. It just runs with less friction because you are not taking every passing experience as proof of who you are. Keep the tone straightforward and humane. Sit, breathe, look, and test. When you forget, start again. When you find yourself telling a big story, shorten it to what is actually happening now. When you notice grasping, feel it and soften. When fear arises, meet it with care. That is the whole arc in simple moves. The result is not dramatic on the outside. Inside, there is more room. You have more freedom to choose, more patience to wait a beat, and more availability to care. That is what this investigation is pointing to, and you can feel its truth one breath and one honest moment at a time. As that kind of honest seeing takes root breath by breath, it helps to add warmth so the mind does not turn crisp and distant. Clarity without kindness can make solitude feel like you are doing a private audit. The Buddhist approach pairs insight with loving kindness and self-compassion on purpose, not as decoration but as support. Loving kindness, often called metta, is straightforward. It is the trained intention to wish well, starting with yourself and extending out. Self-compassion is what you offer when suffering shows up at close range. Together, they make your practice more humane, and they keep your heart from closing when you look at difficult things. If the word metta feels unfamiliar, think of it as a friendly attitude you can tune, like adjusting the volume on a radio. You sit down, settle your body, and repeat simple phrases that point your mind toward goodwill. The phrases are not magic, they are cues. A classic set is, "May I be safe, may I be peaceful, may I be healthy, may I live with ease." Say them at a natural pace and let each one land for a breath or two. Keep your voice inside your head gentle, as if you were speaking to someone you genuinely care about. If these exact words do not fit, adjust them. Maybe you prefer, "May I feel supported, may I meet today with patience, may I rest when I need to." The content is less important than the tone. Synchronizing the phrases with breathing helps. On an inhalation, you can silently say, "May I be safe." On an exhalation, feel the body soften around that wish. Then the next phrase on the next breath, and so on. If your attention wanders, return to the next breath and the next phrase without complaint. 5 or 10 minutes like this is a good span to start. You can sit in the same posture you use for breathing practice. Let your face soften a little. Sometimes placing a hand on the chest or belly helps the message reach the body, especially if the mind is skeptical. Touch can be a real anchor when emotions are involved. A common barrier is that it can feel fake at first. Many people do not automatically include themselves in their circle of care. If saying "may I be happy" triggers cynicism, scale it back to something that feels true, like "may I be safe enough" or "may I hold this day kindly." You are not trying to manufacture a mood. You are shaping intention. If nothing arises as a feeling, that is fine. Consider it seed planting. Feelings often follow later, and even if they do not, the habit of goodwill strengthens with repetition. Keep the practice modest and regular rather than heroic. Once you have warmed the heart toward yourself, gently widen the circle. Bring to mind a benefactor, someone who has been kind to you, who is easy to wish well. It could be a teacher, a grandparent, a steady friend, even a pet if that is what opens your chest. Offer the same phrases to them. May you be safe. May you be peaceful. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. Let an image be light, not forced. Notice if any warmth or gratitude arises. After a few minutes, invite a dear friend into the circle, then a neutral person you do not know well, like the barista or a neighbor you see but never speak to. Eventually, if it feels workable, include a difficult person, someone with whom you have normal friction but not active harm. If your system spikes when you picture them, back up to an easier category. This is training, not a test of purity. End by widening to all beings near and far, known and unknown. Keep the language simple. May all beings be safe and at ease. Working with a difficult person deserves practical care. You are not excusing hurtful behavior or inviting more of it. You are training your own heart not to tighten into hatred. Pick someone where the difficulty is medium, not extreme. If anger flares, notice where it lands in the body and breathe there while you keep the phrases gentle and short. You can reduce the set to "may you be well," repeat it a few times, and then shift back to yourself or to a neutral person. The principle is to stay within your window of tolerance so the practice remains steady. Over time, you may find that reactivity drops a notch when you actually see this person, not because they changed, but because you are not rehearsing hostility in solitude. Self-compassion comes in when pain or shame shows up, which it will when you are honest. It has 3 simple moves. First, acknowledge what is happening. You name it plainly. This is hard, or I feel ashamed, or anxiety is here. Second, remember that this is part of being human. Others feel this too. You are not uniquely broken. That recognition cuts the isolation that pain brings. Third, offer a kind response. That could be a warm tone in your own voice, a gentle hand on your heart, or a phrase like, "May I be kind to myself in this moment." Sometimes asking, "What do I need right now?" brings up a clear next step, like taking a short walk, drinking water, or simply breathing and staying. This is not self-pity. It is basic care so you can keep practicing. You can combine self-compassion with breath on tough days. Inhale and acknowledge. Exhale and offer kindness. Inhale, fear is here. Exhale, may I be gentle with myself. Keep it for a few minutes until the intensity lowers. If memories come up, keep the phrasing present tense and simple so you do not spin out in stories. If the body is very activated, return to grounding through sensation. Feet on the floor, sounds in the room, the feel of clothing on your arms. Then pick up the phrases again when you are steadier. The measure of success is not tears or big releases. It is whether your tone toward yourself is less harsh by the end. Timing matters less than consistency, but structure helps. Many people like to open the day with 5 to 10 minutes of loving kindness before moving to mindfulness of breathing. It sets the tone. In the afternoon, you can use it as a reset if irritation or fatigue builds. In the evening, a soft round before sleep often calms the nervous system. Alternating loving kindness with mindfulness balances clarity and warmth. If you notice your practice getting sharp or judgmental, add a bit more metta. If you feel foggy or sentimental, lean back toward clear observation. You are tuning a system, not picking a side. It is worth mentioning the body because it broadcasts the quality of your heart before thoughts do. When offering goodwill, let your posture be upright and relaxed. If your brow is furrowed, ease it. If your jaw is clenched, release it on an exhale. Let the shoulders drop a little. A tiny half smile can soften over effort without pretending you feel happy. These small adjustments signal safety to your system, and safety makes kindness easier to access. If you notice holding in the belly, place a hand there for a minute and breathe into your palm. This is not theatrics, it is simple nervous system care. Anger and grief need specific mention because they can feel incompatible with kindness. If anger is hot, do not force sweet phrases. Start with honesty. Anger is here. Feel the heat and pressure in the body. Move if you need to. Walk for a few minutes and count steps to steady the mind. When you are less charged, offer a very neutral kindness line to yourself like, "May I meet this safely?" Over time, anger often becomes more workable when it is not layered with self-attack. For grief, let tears come if they come. Loving kindness can be a soft backdrop. May I be held? May I be patient with this? If trauma history is present and the practice triggers overwhelm, scale it down. Keep your eyes open. Focus on external senses, shorten sessions, and consider checking in with a supportive person. The rule is simple. Do what keeps you safe and steady. You can spread this practice through the day without making a show of it. Before you eat, pause for one breath and offer, "May this food support clarity." When you see a stranger, silently wish them well. One short phrase, then move on. During a walk, sync phrases with steps for a minute or two. While washing dishes, offer kindness to your own tiredness. These tiny injections of goodwill keep solitude warm. They also shape the reflexes you carry back into conversations later. Expect a few predictable glitches. One is turning loving kindness into another achievement task, judging whether you felt enough or did it right. Each time you notice that, smile at your own ambition and return to the next phrase. Another is avoiding hard truths by painting everything in pastel. Kindness is not about denying harm or pretending everything is fine. It sits next to truth. If something needs addressing, kindness gives you the steadiness to face it. A third glitch is feeling nothing and concluding the practice does not work. Emptiness of feeling is common, especially for people who have been self-critical for a long time. Keep the phrases simple. Lower your expectations. Notice small changes like a softer breath or slightly less tightness. These are valid results. How do you know it is helping? You will still have moods, but certain edges soften. You may apologize faster after snapping because you are not stuck in self-shame. You may find it easier to say no because your kindness includes your own limits. You might sleep a bit more easily. You may notice a tiny space before old habits kick in, and sometimes you choose differently. None of this is dramatic, and that is the point. Loving kindness and self-compassion work by quiet repetition. They change your baseline. If you want a simple way to structure a session, try this. Sit for a few minutes with the breath to settle. Offer phrases to yourself for 5 minutes. Offer them to a benefactor for a couple of minutes, then a friend, then a neutral person. If it is safe, include a difficult person briefly, otherwise skip. End with all beings for a minute, then rest in quiet for a minute without phrases. That whole arc can fit inside 15 to 20 minutes. Adjust the times to your capacity. On days when you are depleted, do only self-kindness. On days when your heart feels open, widen more. Images can help some people. You might picture a warm light around the heart or a color that suggests kindness to you. Keep images gentle and do not strain to see them. Others prefer a memory of a place where they felt safe and rested. Let that memory set the tone, then bring in the phrases. If imagery distracts you, drop it and stay with words and breath. There is no single correct doorway. One last point that makes a practical difference. Include people you do not like as part of the all beings group, even if you do not name them. The phrase all beings is not abstract. It trains your mind to stop carving the world into small circles of worthiness. Start with a light touch. May all beings be safe. You may feel resistance. Acknowledge it. Return to the breath. Repeat the line once more. Then let it go. You are not forcing forgiveness. You are preventing your heart from shrinking while you are alone. Over days of solitude, this steady warmth changes the feel of the whole retreat. The room does not feel as tight. Your own face looks less hard when you catch a glimpse in the mirror. The mind that investigates impermanence and not self now does so with less fear and less self-attack. When insights land, they land in a field that can hold them. When pain surfaces, there is a response ready that is not just analysis. And when the time alone ends, the quality you have rehearsed flows outward without effort. A kinder tone on a call, an extra moment of listening, a willingness to set boundaries without resentment. Kindness is not a side project. It is part of the engine that keeps practice honest and makes solitude a well that actually feeds your life. That same warmth you have been cultivating gets even more stable when your body is invited to participate, not just as something to sit with, but as an active partner. Attention loves a clear, simple task, and the body offers that with every step, stretch, and small chore. When you bring awareness into movement, you stop treating practice as a head-only activity. You give yourself more ways to settle and more chances to notice what is actually happening. Walking meditation is a straightforward place to start. Set up a short path where you can move back and forth without obstacles. It can be a hallway, a living room, a balcony, a quiet stretch of sidewalk, or a garden. Choose a distance that lets you turn around without fuss. Maybe the length of a room. Stand at one end for a moment and feel your feet on the ground. Let your posture be upright, but not stiff. Eyes soft, jaw relaxed. Place your hands in a comfortable position, lightly clasped in front of you or resting at your sides. Take a breath and begin to walk slowly, slower than your usual pace, but not so slow that you wobble. As you walk, give your attention to the phases of each step. You lift the foot, you move it forward, you place it down, and you shift the weight. If words help, you can quietly name those phases in your mind, just one or two simple cues. Then let the labels fade and stay with the sensations. Feel the pressure change under the heel, the arch, the ball of the foot, the toes. Notice the ankle and knee moving. Let the breath be natural, not synced to the step unless that happens on its own. When you reach the end of the path, pause for a breath. Turn with awareness and continue. The mind will wander. When it does, recognize what took it away, then return attention to the foot that is actually moving. The return is the practice. If you feel unsteady going very slowly, walk at a moderate pace and keep your focus on contact with the ground. If moving slowly makes your mind clearer, stay with that. You can adjust speed across the day. On a sleepy afternoon, a bit more pace keeps you alert. In a restless stretch, slower steps help you land. Shoes are fine if you need support, and barefoot is fine if the surface is safe and warm enough. The point is not purity, it is clear, continuous attention while moving. Sometimes it helps to decide ahead of time how long you will walk. 15 minutes is a good start, and you can go to 20 or 30 as it becomes more natural. If you already sit for that long, you might alternate sitting and walking in equal amounts. The alternation keeps energy balanced and prevents stiffness. If you have limited space, tiny laps work. If outdoors is available, a quiet path without heavy traffic is best because it reduces visual and auditory pull. When noise or people appear, include the sounds and sights as background and return to the feet. You're not trying to block out the world. You are holding your anchor in the middle of it. You will learn a lot just by watching what the mind does during walking. Planning shows up, memories roll in, and mood shifts arrive. The technique does not change. Note thinking if that helps, feel the foot, and continue. If strong emotion surfaces, keep walking and bring attention to where the feeling lands in the body. Let the rhythm of steps give you stability. Movement often makes difficult states more workable because energy has a channel. When things feel overwhelming, widen your awareness to include the whole body moving through space. That broader field can reduce pressure. Gentle stretching fits naturally around walking and sitting. Think of it as making conditions friendly for attention. You do not need a complicated routine. Start at the neck and shoulders with slow circles and rolls. Feel the stretch rather than forcing range. Move to arms and wrists, then to the spine with gentle twists and side bends. Hips, thighs, calves, and ankles can all get a few simple stretches. Stay in each for a few breaths. Keep your face soft and your breath smooth. If pain appears, ease off immediately. The aim is to wake up the body, not to gain flexibility trophies. Over time, you will start to sense where you hold tension, and you can spend a little extra time there. The feedback is direct. When the body is more comfortable, attention steadies more easily. If you already know some yoga, choose a small set of calming postures. Child's pose, a gentle forward fold, a low lunge, a supine twist, and legs up a wall are often helpful. Keep transitions slow and keep the breath natural. If you are curious about Qigong, which is a Chinese system of gentle, flowing movements tied to breath, you can try a few simple patterns like lifting arms on an inhale and lowering on an exhale, or making small circles with the wrists and ankles while you feel the ground under you. You do not need to adopt a whole system. A handful of familiar moves done with attention is enough. Safety matters. If you have injuries or conditions, adapt. Use props. Take smaller ranges of motion. Sit in a chair for parts of a routine or skip movements that aggravate your body. Ask your physician or therapist if you are unsure. Trust pain as information. It is better to do less with full presence than to push and spend the rest of the day managing the consequences. Presence is the point. Posture is a practice all by itself, and it carries into every technique. When you sit, let your pelvis be anchored and your spine long. Imagine the crown of your head lifting slightly while your shoulders drop. Keep the chin level. When you stand, place the feet hip width, soften the knees so they are not locked, and feel the weight distribute evenly. Let the lower ribs relax so you are not flaring the chest. Small posture checks during the day make a big difference. They reduce strain you might not notice, and they set a tone of calm alertness. You can tie these checks to transitions. Standing up, sitting down, reaching for a cup, stepping through a door, each is a chance to align without fuss. Everyday activities make good practice spaces when you bring attention to the senses. Washing dishes is a classic. Turn the water on, feel the temperature, notice the weight and slickness of the plates, hear the clink and swish, and watch the mind try to speed up. Put the utensil down between steps. When thoughts pull, return to the warmth of the water and the contact of your feet on the floor. Sweeping a room can be the same. Feel the hand on the broom, the texture of the handle, the sound of bristles. Move at a steady pace and keep breathing steady. Folding laundry, watering plants, wiping a table, taking a shower, brushing your teeth, tying your shoes. Every one of these can be done as if it were the main practice of the moment. No special mood is required. You just bring your full attention to the physical actions and keep the pace moderate. This embodied approach helps if you tend to drift into your head or feel detached from your surroundings. When you name the texture of a towel or the exact contact of your heel with the floor, you anchor in real sensations. That reduces the chance of spiraling in thought loops or getting lost in abstraction. If you notice dissociation, which is a sense of being far away from your body or from the present moment, pause and collect 3 or 4 simple sensory facts. Name a color you see, a sound you hear, a point of contact you feel, and the taste or smell in your mouth. Then take a slow breath and proceed with the task. Doing this repeatedly builds a habit of returning to the body when you need it. Sometimes energy dips low and you feel heavy or foggy. Movement is a clean remedy. Stand up, shake your arms and legs gently, roll your shoulders, and take a short round of walking with a bit more pace. Keep your eyes open and look at the world as it is right now. If you feel agitated instead, slow everything down. Walk at half speed, lower your gaze, and breathe a little longer on the exhale. Use your environment. If there is a window, look out and let your eyes rest on something simple like a tree or the sky. Then go back to your path and continue. There will be days when sitting is hard and the body becomes your main entry point. You can spend more time walking and stretching without losing the thread of practice. Keep the same ethics and the same intention. Count steps if that steadies you. For instance, walk 10 steps, pause for 1 breath, walk 10 more, and so on. Keep the counting light so you do not get tangled. If counting adds pressure, drop it and return to direct sensation. You are allowed to make this humane. It helps to be specific about how to turn small movements into practice. When you reach for a doorknob, notice the moment your hand touches metal, the coolness, the texture. When you pour tea, feel the weight of the kettle, the warmth of the cup, the sound as liquid fills it. When you sit down to eat, feel the chair receive you. When you stand, feel through your feet as pressure shifts. These are not exotic techniques. They are ordinary actions done with care. Over hours, they stitch attention through the day so you are practicing even when you are not on a cushion or walking path. If balance is tricky, adapt walking meditation to be safer. Use a wall or countertop for light support. Walk in a small square rather than a straight line so turns are frequent and gentle. Keep your feet a little wider for stability. If dizziness is an issue, keep your gaze on a stable point ahead, not on your feet. If you use a mobility aid, you can still practice. Feel the contact points of hands and feet, the shift of weight, and the rhythm of movement. The core instruction does not change. Breath can join movement without becoming forced. During stretching, notice the natural tendency for the body to soften on the exhale. Let that happen. During walking, occasionally check whether the breath is smooth or choppy. If it is tight, slow the pace a touch and let the belly loosen. If it is too slow and heavy, add a bit of pace and lift your posture. These small adjustments tune your system so awareness stays clear without strain. It is normal to wonder whether all this really matters. The test is simple. After a period of walking or mindful movement, check how your mind and body feel. Is there a bit more steadiness? Is reactivity a notch lower? Do you feel more present to what you're doing? If the answer is even slightly yes, then the practice is doing its job. There is no need to chase special feelings. You are training reliability, and your body is the most available tool you have for that. When you return to sitting after movement, notice how the body's feedback supports the mind. The legs feel settled, the spine is awake, and the breath finds its rhythm faster. If you sense agitation building during a sit, plan to stand and walk before it tips into restlessness. If you sense sleepiness, walk earlier and add a few gentle stretches that open the chest and back. Planning these shifts is not breaking practice. It is using all of your options wisely. Keep the tone through all of this simple and friendly. You are not putting on a performance of grace. You are feeling your life directly through the body you have. Some days you will feel clumsy or stiff. That is fine. Meet that with humor and patience. On other days, movement will feel smooth. Enjoy that without trying to hold it. Either way, keep coming back to the contact of your feet, the alignment of your posture, and the breath moving quietly. This builds a daily rhythm that nourishes energy and ease, and it makes solitude feel grounded rather than airy. When your body is included, attention has fewer places to hide, and ordinary actions become steady places to practice being here. With your body now carrying some of the attention, you will notice the weather inside more clearly. Thoughts, moods, and urges still come and go. That is normal. You are not trying to shut them down. You are learning a few simple tools to meet them without drowning or pretending they are not there. Working skillfully with thoughts and emotions is a learnable set of moves you can practice in small chunks through the day. Start with the lightest technique, a short label. When a thought appears, you silently note thinking and return to the breath or to the body. When a mood shows itself, you can note sadness, worry, anger, doubt, or whatever fits. Then feel where it lands in your chest, belly, throat, or face. The label is not a verdict. It is just a tag that stops fusion for a second so you can stay present. Keep labels brief and keep your attention mostly in sensation. If you overlabel, the mind gets busy. Aim for just enough structure to avoid being swept away. Wise reflection is the next tool. The old term is yoniso manasikara, which simply means looking in a way that reveals causes and results. You are not debating yourself. You are asking clear, kind questions to steer attention. Useful questions sound like this. What is happening right now? What am I clinging to? Is feeding this helpful? What are the results if I keep feeding it? Where is this felt in the body? What would kindness look like for the next few minutes? Ask one question, listen for the body's answer, and return to the breath. Sprinkle these questions, do not pour them. They work best with pauses between them. A simple sequence many people like is RAIN, recognize, allow, investigate, and non-identification. Recognize by naming what is here, like anger, shame, or planning. Allow by giving it a little room instead of pushing it away or acting it out. Investigate by feeling it in the body and noting the thoughts that travel with it. Non-identification means remembering this is an event moving through, not your whole identity. Move through the steps at a natural pace and keep the tone friendly. Take worry as a test case. You sit down and the mind starts listing problems. Recognize by naming worrying. Allow by giving it 3 breaths without trying to fix anything. Investigate by finding where worry lives in the body. Maybe the stomach is tight and the breath is shallow. You can place a hand there and lengthen the exhale a little. Ask a wise reflection question. What am I believing right now? The answer might be that a terrible outcome is certain. Check whether there is a concrete action you can take today. If yes, write 1 line on paper, schedule it, and return to practice. If no, stay with the body for a few more breaths and let the storyline pass without feeding it. Anger needs a firm but kind approach. Start by feeling heat, pressure, and speed in the body. Recognize anger, allow a little room, and keep the jaw unclenched. Lengthen the out-breath, and if needed, stand and walk for a few minutes to discharge energy. Ask, what am I protecting here? Often anger is guarding a boundary or a value. If a response is required, decide it later when the body is cooler. In the moment, the job is to hold the energy safely. When the wave settles, you can plan a direct conversation or set a boundary from a steady place. Venting in solitude usually trains more anger. Feeling and containing it trains strength without spillover. Sadness and shame ask for gentleness. With sadness, recognize it, allow it, and let tears be okay if they come. Keep the breath steady and the posture supported. Bring in the phrase, "May I meet this kindly," on the out-breath. A short walk in daylight helps if heaviness lingers. With shame, distinguish between behavior and identity. You can admit a mistake without turning it into the story of who you are. Recognize shame, feel its signature in the body, often a drop in the chest or heat in the face. Offer a compassionate line, "May I forgive what is forgivable and repair what needs repair." If an apology or a repair is called for, write a simple plan and do it when practice time ends. That turns shame into responsibility without self-attack. One trap to watch for is confusing rumination with reflection. Rumination replays the same material and leaves you tighter. Reflection is brief, specific, and leads to a clear next step or to letting go. You can test which one you are doing by checking your body. If your shoulders and jaw are tightening, you are probably looping. Label it. Set a short timer for a practical review if needed. Jot 1 or 2 lines and then return to the breath or to movement. The timer matters. It turns a foggy problem into a task with an end. Doubt and self-judgment arrive on many retreats. They say things like, "This is not working, you are doing it wrong, you are wasting time." Treat doubt as a mind state, not as a wise advisor. Label doubting, feel your feet, and take 3 steady breaths. Ask a simple, wise reflection question. Is this voice helping me practice right now? If the answer is no, return to your anchor and continue. If a specific correction is needed, make the smallest adjustment and move on. You do not need to argue with the voice. You just do not need to hire it as your guide. Intrusive thoughts can show up when things get quiet. A thought is not an action. When one comes, recognize it, call it thinking, and feel the body. Skip analysis during practice. If it flags a real safety issue, take the smallest responsible step and return. If thoughts about self-harm or harming others feel compelling, pause. Reach out to a trusted person or professional and ground with simple activities. Asking for help is sensible. Practice works best when you are safe. It is also important not to turn investigation into a chase. Periodically rest in simple knowing without probing. You can sit and feel the breath for 10 smooth cycles and let everything else be as it is. You are not avoiding experience. You are letting the mind recover from effort. This rest prevents the habit of making practice another project to optimize. After resting, if something is still drawing attention, you can return to a light label or to RAIN. Wise reflection can also guide choices when emotions suggest action. Ask, is this urge based on fear, on craving, or on care? Ask, what are the likely results in an hour, a day, and a week if I act on this? Ask, what is the smallest kind of action I can take that does not increase harm? Keep the questions short and answer them with your body as well as your thoughts. If your stomach clenches and your breath shortens when you plan a fiery message, that is feedback. You can decide to wait, to rewrite, or to talk in person when steadier. Planning loops deserve a clean container. If planning hijacks your sights, create a small planning period after lunch. Set a gentle timer for 10 or 15 minutes. Write the top 1 to 3 tasks that actually matter using plain words and stop when the timer ends. Outside that period, when plans intrude, label planning, feel your feet, and return to your anchor. You are not forbidding plans. You are training when to plan and when to practice. Language matters too. Try shifting from I am sad to sadness is present, from I am anxious to anxiety is here. This is not a trick to distance yourself. It is a reminder to see emotions as experiences moving through. The shift often gives a bit of space so you can respond rather than react. Pair the language with a physical anchor, like the feeling of your hands touching, so the idea lands in the body. At the end of the day, do a short, honest review. Ask what helped clarity and what fed confusion. Keep it to a few sentences so it does not become another analysis spiral. Note one thing you will repeat tomorrow and one thing you will drop, then rest. Over time, these small adjustments build confidence. You learn that you do not need perfect conditions to practice. You truly need simple tools and a steady tone. Label lightly, ask clear questions, use RAIN when needed, ground in the body, and rest when effort starts to harden. The aim is not to control inner weather. The aim is to relate to it with clarity, kindness, and non-ownership. So solitude becomes a place where your mind learns how to be free even when storms still pass through. Since you are learning to relate to inner weather with clarity and kindness, it makes sense to also look at what you are feeding that weather all day. A simple way to keep practice steady is to cut down the amount of new stimulus coming in through your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. In the old teachings, this is called guarding the sense doors. That phrase just means you pay attention to what you take in and choose a cleaner diet for your senses. It is not repression. It is smart nutrition for attention, and solitude is the perfect time to try it and see what difference it makes. Start with the obvious source of stimulation, devices. Set them aside as much as your life allows. Turn notifications off. Put your phone on airplane mode and do not disturb. If you need a timer, use one that works offline and set the phone across the room so you are not tempted to check it. If your work or family life requires some availability, make one small window for checking messages and keep it consistent. For example, you might decide on one check in the early evening. Let people know in advance and set an auto reply that explains you will not respond until then unless there is a real emergency. When the window arrives, handle only what is truly necessary. Read, respond, and close the device. Do not wander. You are teaching the mind that it does not need to snack on updates every few minutes. The first day you do this, you will probably feel small pulls to pick up the phone. Treat those pulls like any other experience. Notice the urge, label it wanting if labels help you, and feel where it lands in the body. Often there is a quick tightness in the belly or chest or a buzz in the fingers. Breathe with it and watch it crest and pass. Phantom checks are common. Your hand may reach without a plan. When you catch it, simply put the device back down. No scolding is needed. This is what craving looks like in real time. Seeing it clearly is part of the training. Media is just speech in another form, so give it the same kindness and restraint you give your words in noble silence. Set aside podcasts, news shows, and constant streams. If there is a genuine safety need to stay updated, choose a single, short, factual source once a day and skip commentary and opinion. Read the necessary lines, take any needed action, and step away. The rest of the time, trust that the world can turn without your commentary. This is not withdrawal from responsibility. It is choosing when to engage so your attention can recover. If you feel antsy without input, take a walk or do a short round of breathing instead of hitting play. A helpful replacement for scrolling is a short reading with a clear stop. Pick one page from a Dharma book or one poem that speaks to steadiness or kindness. Read it once, put the book down, and sit for a few minutes with whatever resonance is present. No hunt for the next quote. You are feeding your mind a small, nourishing thing and then giving it time to digest. This pattern is the opposite of the endless feed that trains restlessness. It trains sufficiency. Your eyes will thank you if your space is simpler. Clean the room you are using, clear surfaces. Put away piles that distract you. Reduce visual noise by keeping colors calm and objects minimal where you practice and eat. You do not have to redesign your home. A few clear areas are enough. Choose clothing that is comfortable and uncomplicated so you are not making style decisions during retreat. If bright screens are part of your day, lower brightness or use warmer light filters in the evening to help your system slow down. Soft, warm light and an uncluttered surface are small adjustments that make attention less jumpy. Sound is another input you can tune. The goal is not total quiet, which is rare, but a helpful sound environment. Turn off background media that runs out of habit. Notice the difference between silence and low music. If music keeps your mind churning, prefer quiet. If noise from outside is disruptive, earplugs or a simple white noise machine can be practical tools. Nature sounds can work if they are steady and gentle, but skip dramatic tracks that pull emotion around. When sounds arise that you cannot control, treat them as part of the field. Hear them as sounds. Notice any dislike or story that piles on, and feel what happens when you relax your shoulders and let the sound pass. This is restraint in action. You are choosing not to add extra weight to what is already present. Smell and taste shape mood more than we think. Keep scents simple and light. If incense supports a sense of focus for you and you tolerate it well, use a single stick at a consistent time like the start of a sit and skip it the rest of the day. If scents make you dizzy or allergic, stick to fresh air. That is the cleanest option. For taste, design meals that are easy to prepare and digest. Soups, steamed vegetables, rice or another simple grain, and a basic protein that fits your diet are good building blocks. If you tend to crash after sugar, reduce it. If caffeine makes your mind race, cut back or time it earlier. If you get headaches when you stop caffeine suddenly, taper down over a couple of days rather than going cold turkey. This is not a moral stance about food. It is troubleshooting. You are testing how different inputs affect alertness and calm. You can run small experiments and watch the results. On one day, keep breakfast light and see how your morning sits feel. On another day, add a bit more protein and notice the difference. Try a simple lunch and skip snacking for a few hours. Notice whether the pull to grab a snack is physical hunger or boredom. If it is boredom, meet the boredom with a few minutes of walking or breath. If it is hunger, eat a simple snack and eat it like a small practice, noticing taste, texture, and the body's response. When dinner is heavy, pay attention to how your evening practice goes. Often the link between heavy meals and sluggish attention is obvious once you look. Adjust with kindness, not with rules that make you anxious. Visual clutter goes beyond your room. Your digital space can be simplified too. Remove distracting icons from your home screen or use a focus mode that hides everything except your timer and an emergency contact. Log out of accounts that tempt you. If that feels extreme, remind yourself it is temporary. After your retreat, you can restore things consciously rather than by default. This small friction of logging in can save you from dozens of microchecks that would otherwise fragment your day. Clothing and objects with strong emotional charge can also pull your mind. During retreat, set aside items that trigger strong memories, whether good or bad. Keep what you use daily and let the rest. If keeping a small focal point like a plant, a stone, or a simple picture helps you settle, place it where you sit. Let it be a quiet reminder rather than a shrine that invites a lot of thinking. The key is whether your eyes can rest when they land. If you live with others, sense restraint becomes a shared project. Explain that you are cutting back on screens and noise and ask for support during certain hours. Offer something in return so it does not feel like a unilateral demand. You might take a turn cooking or cleaning before your quiet time. If someone likes to watch shows loudly, ask if they would use headphones during your practice periods and set a time when you will be available again. These adjustments make the environment more supportive without strain. There is a mental side to all of this too. The mind is also a sense door in the old lists, and guarding it means you choose what you feed it. Notice the topics you rehearse out of habit. If you catch yourself replaying a news story that makes you angry, pause and ask whether rehearsing it now helps anything. If the answer is no, label thinking, feel your breath, and redirect attention to a simple task. You can plan an action later from a calm mind. Restraint does not mean indifference. It means you protect your limited energy, so when you do act, you act well. Some people worry that restraint is a slippery slope to being joyless. In practice, it tends to be the opposite. When inputs are fewer and cleaner, natural pleasures stand out. A cup of tea tastes clearer. A short walk feels satisfying. Sleep is deeper. Because you are not constantly chasing stimulation, ordinary moments are enough more often. That does not make you dull. It makes you available for what you are doing. It is smart to watch for all or nothing thinking. If cutting back on inputs makes you edgy or cranky, soften the plan. Keep one small window for connecting with a friend or reading a few pages of a favorite book. Set a clear start and end, and then return to quiet. The aim is sustainability. If the container is too tight, it will crack. If it is too loose, it will not hold. Adjust until your day feels steady and humane. If you struggle with disordered eating or strict rules around food, treat the meal suggestions as optional and work with a clinician or a trusted person to set a safe plan. The point here is not to control weight or to moralize food. It is to notice simple cause and effect between what you eat and how your mind feels. If cutting back triggers old patterns, prioritize stability and kindness. You can still practice sense restraint in other domains like sound, sight, and digital input while keeping meals steady and supportive. For caffeine, alcohol, and other substances, keep it straightforward. Skip alcohol and recreational drugs during retreat. With caffeine, aim for enough to avoid headaches if your body is used to it, but not so much that you get jittery. You might choose 1 cup of tea in the morning instead of several coffees. Monitor your sleep that night and your attention the next day. Adjust slowly. Your body will tell you what helps. A simple way to notice the benefits of restraint is to check your mind before and after you simplify an input. Turn off a stream of videos and sit for 5 minutes. Feel your breath and your body. Then ask yourself honestly how the mind feels compared to 5 minutes earlier. Usually there is a noticeable drop in agitation. Repeat this with a cleared table versus a cluttered one, or with a plain lunch versus a heavy one. The feedback is direct. You do not have to take anyone's word for it. Replacing habits helps too. When the hand goes to the phone, train a replacement action. 1 breath, 1 step, 1 sip of water, or 1 look out the window. Make the replacement small and immediate so it actually happens. Over a day, those little swaps add up. The urge to scroll weakens because you have built a different groove. You can also make restraint visible with a few low-effort changes. Move chargers out of your practice room. Put a small box by the door where you drop your keys and phone before you enter. Load your kitchen with the ingredients for simple meals so you are not tempted to spend hours on recipes as a distraction. Set your practice clothes out the night before so you get up and go without deciding. These are not moral moves, they are friction adjustments that support your aim. If loneliness spikes when you cut inputs, respond kindly. Take a short walk outside and make eye contact with passers-by if that feels safe. Look at trees or the sky. Write a brief, warm note to a friend and send it during your planned check time. Offer yourself the phrase, "May I be at ease in my own company," and breathe with it for a few minutes. Restraint does not mean you do not need people. It means you choose contact deliberately rather than filling space with noise that does not truly satisfy. At the end of the day, review what you took in, not as a guilt trip, just as information. What did you watch, read, eat, hear, and smell? How did those inputs affect your energy and clarity? Jot 1 or 2 lines and make one adjustment for tomorrow. Maybe you lighten dinner, or you move your check window earlier, or you put the phone in another room at night. These small changes compound. Over a few days, you will likely notice that cravings become easier to spot. You feel the reach before the hand moves. You catch the urge to open a news app before it happens. You notice that a quiet room feels like a relief rather than a void. That relief is the point. Restraint gives your attention a chance to rest and reset, and it shows you the cost of constant input with real numbers your body understands. Calmer mornings, easier sits, steadier mood. Traditions praise restraint not because it makes you special, but because it frees up energy you can use better elsewhere. Keep the tone friendly and practical. You are not performing a digital detox for social media. You are caring for your nervous system. If you slip and binge for an hour, do not spiral. Stop where you are, take one breath, and continue. Each return matters more than the slip. As inputs simplify, the mind's baseline settles. You will find you need less to feel okay, and the time you spend alone starts to feel like it feeds you instead of draining you. That is a clear sign you are on the right track. As cravings quiet down and the room feels easier to be in, the next practical step is deciding how you will carry this steadiness back into a day that includes phones, people, and deadlines. Re-entry is part of the retreat, not something that happens to you afterward. If you treat it as part of the plan, you avoid the snapback effect where old habits rush in and wipe out the grooves you just formed. So you start thinking about integration before the end, and you make a few clear choices you can actually keep. One simple move is to stage your return over a day or two rather than flipping every switch at once. On your last retreat morning, keep silence until breakfast. After that, allow a small window for practical logistics, and then return to quiet rhythms for the rest of the day. This gives your nervous system time to recalibrate. The first full day back, delay your message check until mid-morning if you can, and make a short list of what truly needs your attention. That delay matters. It keeps you from handing your newly settled attention straight to the most urgent ping. Capture your main insights in a few lines. Not poetry, not a long diary, just a short paragraph about what supported clarity and what created noise. Include 1 or 2 sentences about how you want to live differently in the coming week. This is not for performance. You are giving your future self a map when things get busy. If you wrote an intention sentence at the start, rewrite it now in present tense, something like, "May clarity and kindness guide my calls and my steps today." Put it somewhere you will see it, on a mirror or as a lock screen. You will be surprised how often that quiet line steadies you. Pick 3 practices to carry into regular life and make them small enough that you will do them. A short sit in the morning is first on many people's lists. 10 to 20 minutes is enough. Guard it like a meeting. Do it before you check messages. Keep it simple. A few breaths to settle, follow the breath, and end with 1 minute of loving kindness. Second, Choose one act of service each week. That might be checking on a neighbor, volunteering 1 hour with a local group, or offering a skill you have to someone who needs it. Service turns private steadiness into shared good. Third, schedule a weekly screen Sabbath, even a partial one. Half a day without optional screens resets your attention more than you think. Put it on your calendar, tell the people who need to know, and prepare a few offline activities so you are not fighting boredom. If those 3 feel like a lot, make them smaller. 5 minutes of sitting, one simple act of help, and a 2-hour block without screens still count. The point is rhythm, not heroics. Share what you learned with one person who understands the spirit of your practice. That could be a teacher if you have one, or a trusted friend who knows how to listen without trying to fix you. Keep it short and real. Mention what helped, where you struggled, and what you plan to keep. Ask for feedback if you want it, especially on blind spots you suspect you have. The purpose here is not to get a gold star. It is to stabilize your intention and to have someone who can nudge you gently if you drift. Community helps with drift more than almost anything. In Buddhist language, community is called Sangha, which just means a group of people who practice together. You do not need a monastery, a local meditation group that meets weekly, or an online session you can join from home creates a simple accountability. When you sit with others, even on a screen, your mind remembers why you are doing this. If you are new to groups, try a few and see which ones feel steady and kind rather than intense or performative. Attend a handful of times before judging. Consistency beats intensity here too. Expect friction. You will come home to inboxes, laundry, people who need things, and maybe a few messes you did not make. Your job is not to protect your calm at all costs. Your job is to respond wisely. Use the first 2 days as a gentle ramp. Keep meals simple. Reduce optional commitments. Do not make big life decisions right away. If someone you love needs you, show up and bring the tone you practiced. 1 breath before you answer, 1 pause before you hit send, 1 honest sentence instead of 5 defensive ones. You will not always get it right. That is normal. When you snap or rush or scroll too long, notice it, apologize where needed, and start again. Lapses are data, not verdicts. At work, integrate practice quietly. Start meetings with 1 breath you notice, even if you do not announce it. When a tough email lands, write a draft and save it. Walk to get water and feel your steps before you edit and send. Keep a small object on your desk that reminds you to soften your jaw and shoulders. That could be a stone, a simple card with your intention sentence, or a plant. Use transitions as anchors. Each time you change tasks, take 1 breath and name what you are doing next. You will waste less energy switching, and you will make fewer mistakes. Keep an eye on your digital boundaries because that is where many people lose their gains. Hold on to the message window habit you practiced on retreat. 1 check mid-morning and 1 in the late afternoon is enough for many jobs. Adjust to your reality. Use do not disturb modes at night. Put the phone outside your bedroom if sleep is an issue. If your work requires frequent messaging, carve out small offline islands in your day, even 10 minutes between blocks. The mind resets fast if you give it a chance. Bring your ethical tone forward in simple ways. The precepts you took temporarily have everyday versions. Non-harm looks like being careful with your words in chats and meetings. You can pause before sarcasm. You can choose not to forward outrage. Not taking what is not given looks like giving credit, respecting others' time, and not nibbling at personal tasks during paid hours when you have promised focus. Truthful speech is saying the accurate thing briefly rather than exaggerating to win a point. Simplicity around sexuality looks like clear boundaries in messages and meetings, avoiding flirtation that confuses roles. Skipping intoxicants on weeknights or reducing them keeps your attention clearer. These are not rigid rules. They are ways to reduce friction so your mind stays cleaner. Use micro-retreats to reset during the day. 10 breaths before you open the door to your home. 10 minutes after lunch with your phone off and your eyes on the sky. A single mindful walk around the block before a hard call. These small pockets keep your baseline steady. If you ride public transit, take the first 5 minutes of the trip to feel your seat and your breath instead of jumping into the feed. If you drive, let the first minute after parking be a breath break before you step into the next roll. Sprinkle these resets where you know tension spikes. There is also a simple weekly check that helps integration stick. Pick a consistent time, maybe Sunday evening, and ask yourself 2 questions. What supported clarity this week? What fed confusion? Name one thing you will keep and one thing you will adjust. Write it down in a sentence or 2, then schedule the keepers. If morning sits helped, block them on your calendar for the coming week. If evening screens wrecked your sleep, pick 2 nights to stop early and choose a book or a walk instead. Small changes accumulate. Relationships will test and teach you. Bring the skills you built. Note thinking internally when judgments stack up. Feel where emotion lands in your body and speak from the present rather than from rehearsed scripts. Listening is a direct way to live your practice. Give someone your full attention without planning your reply, and let there be a breath of silence after they finish. Then respond simply. If conflict appears, name the issue, name your part, and propose the next small step. When you miss the mark, repair quickly. This is practice in motion, not on a cushion. If you have kids or care for elders, include them in your rhythms. You can invite a 1-minute breathing game before dinner or a short quiet time after breakfast where everyone reads or draws. You can take a short walk together without devices and point out what you hear and see. You do not have to talk about meditation. You can just practice steadiness and warmth in their company. People feel it. Beware of 2 common swings after retreat. One is the afterglow push, where you try to overhaul your life in a week. The other is the letdown, where you feel flat and abandon your practice. The middle way is simple and boring. Keep small, regular anchors and protect sleep. Eat cleanly for a few days. Do not stack your calendar. Avoid big promises or dramatic announcements. Let your actions speak over a few weeks. The point is to let the groove become normal rather than special. If you feel wobbly, get support sooner rather than later. Reach out to a friend in your practice community or to a teacher and say where you are. Join a group sit even if you do not feel like it. The act of showing up resets you. If your schedule blocks live groups, use a recorded bell and sit at the same time each day knowing others are doing the same somewhere. Shared discipline does not require being in the same room. Travel in busy seasons need small adjustments. On the road, keep a tiny kit, earplugs, a soft eye mask, a simple timer, and your intention sentence on a card. Sit on a hotel chair for 10 minutes before breakfast. Walk mindfully in airport corridors. Keep one practice that tells your nervous system, we still do this. During crunch times at work, shorten formal practice but increase micro breaks. Even 3 breaths between tasks make a difference when you are under pressure. Bring service into your routine in a way that fits your life. You might tutor 1 evening a month, check on a neighbor weekly, or donate a portion of your income to a cause you have vetted. Service is not only about big acts, it is also about daily generosity, attention, patience, small favors. When you dedicate the benefit of your practice to others in the morning, pick a person or group and then notice during the day how you can make that dedication real with one concrete move. Make your tools easy to reach. Keep a cushion visible, not buried in a closet. Place a small bell or timer where you charge your phone so you remember to set it before sleep. Keep a notebook and pen where you drink your morning tea so you can do your weekly check without hunting for supplies. Design your environment to make the next right action the easiest action. This is not about willpower, it is about smart setup. If you slip for a week or a month, do not wait for a perfect moment to restart. Pick the next available morning, sit for 5 minutes, and take a short walk later that day. Restarting is a core skill. Every return strengthens the habit of beginning again. You do not need to punish yourself to be sincere. You demonstrate sincerity by showing up the next day. As you keep this going, You will notice where the edges are. Maybe evenings are your weak spot. Then you put the strongest supports there. Early dinner, a walk, devices away, a soft practice before bed. Maybe mornings are chaotic with family. Then you slide your sit earlier by 10 minutes or move it to a quiet corner at lunch. You tailor the plan to your actual life rather than holding an ideal you cannot meet. That practicality is what makes integration real. You do not have to announce any of this to the world. People around you will notice the results on their own. You listen more. You react less. Your tone is steadier. You pick your battles. You admit mistakes and repair them. You protect your attention without being rigid. All of that is integration. It is the path continuing in the middle of work, family, and traffic. Keep scheduling small pockets of solitude on purpose. 10 breaths before you step into a meeting. 10 minutes after dinner, with your eyes off every screen. One unhurried walk each week where your phone stays home. These are not luxuries. They are maintenance. They reset your system so the benefits of retreat do not fade into a memory. Put them on your calendar. Keep them even when you do not feel like it. That is how a practice becomes a way of life rather than a weekend experiment. Over months, the curve is gentle but real. You waste less energy on noise. You catch unhelpful patterns faster. You find room to care in situations that used to trigger you. You can still have hard days. The difference is that you know how to meet them. You have a few steady moves and a supportive circle. That is integration in plain terms. Intention carried by design into the life you are already living, so the clarity and kindness you touched while alone keep showing up where they matter most.